You went on the X Factor, mate.
Yes, you're through to the next round, and then gave me this like golden ticket. It was Willy Wonka-esque.
Talk Esports have bought out WTF1. What can you tell us? Rightio, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to the next episode of The Cool Down. We've completed the trio, haven't we? We had Jess, we had Tommy, and now we've got the third and final, the face, the esports OG, XMASG. Welcome to the podcast. How are you, mate? How are you doing?
I'm good. I wondered how long it'd take you to say XMASG, and that was very quick. So yeah, very good, mate.
We're getting that in early doors. First and foremost, how are you finding isolation on a professional and personal front?
Yeah, well, it's not ideal, is it? Especially for when my job title is presenter. There's not much I can do presenting wise, apart from into my own mirror. So yeah, and I mean, obviously, you know, we have to work around it. We have to see what we can do. Content wise, it is very difficult because we like to get out. We like to go and meet up with fans at events. We like to go and do cool karting events, sim racing events, everything that kind of involves meeting up with people. So a little bit difficult right now, but hopefully it's going to improve in the next few months and we can get through this.
First of all, touching on XMASG, is the X a kiss?
Well, the name is not. Well, it's not a kiss. No, because usually you'd do a kiss at the end, wouldn't you? It'd be like Matty GX.
Well, you might be quite forward, like a friend. You know.
No. That was that all originated from Xbox. So obviously, people that know me from my old days will know that I'm a big gamer, and yeah, I used to play with my friend Hodgie, and we used to have. Well, there's quite a few of us, to be fair. He created his name X Hodgie, and I was like, okay. So then we all just created the X clan. So it was like X Matty G, X Lucas C, and it just kind of went on and on and on. So no, it's not a kiss as far as I'm aware, but I wasn't the original idea founder of that.
So it could be.
It may well be. Let's say
it may well be. Let's say that. I think it makes sense. It's almost like your KSI, right?
I'm not KSI. He's slightly more successful than
within the motorsport realm. I think, you know. Yeah. What was your very, very first racing video game?
Oh, you're testing my
title
knowledge now. To be fair, I cannot remember the actual name of it, but I was put in front of a games console from a very young age. Hence, probably why I'm pretty much addicted to games now. But I think, gosh, I remember. As I say, I can't exactly remember the names of them, but it's probably like F1 98 or F1, maybe even younger than that. I just remember like standout things from games, and I don't remember what part of that childhood it was. For example, like you used to be able to unlock gold and silver cars, and you could go 1,000,000 miles an hour around these custom tracks and things like that, which I cannot remember the name of. But yeah, probably around 97, I'd say F1 97. Something like that. So that would have been 5 years old.
Did you ever play? Mine was Total Driving on the PS1.
Okay.
That was.
I didn't have a PS1. Shocking.
Did you not? What was your first console?
Super NES.
Nice.
Yeah. Then N64. Yeah. N64 was the one.
Literally, when I was like, obviously, I was looking up what kind of questions I wanted to ask, and I was looking at some Total Driving gameplay on YouTube, and I was like. You know when nostalgia really hits you? Whoa, that soundtrack from way back.
Yeah, it's the soundtrack, isn't it? It's the soundtrack.
Yeah, literally, like the soundtracks are the formative of so many early memories.
Yeah.
But so okay, first racing game, fair enough. But what about first actual like sim racing? I know because again, I watched some of your early videos. You drove on pad in the early days, which I always used to drive pad as well. But your first kind of like sim racer, what was that?
It's quite difficult to call Formula One a sim because if I say that, I am going to get shot. Because the hardcore sim racing community will have me. Probably actually, and to be fair, I went back on it yesterday for a race which went terrible. But my first experience of a sim was probably iRacing around 7 years ago, 7, 8, maybe 8 years ago. And I was on the worst wheel possible. I was on a computer that could barely load it, and things like that. And, I'd just be hoping to finish a lap before it crashed, sort of thing. But I think that was probably my first experience of it. Not that I actually had the full sim experience because I didn't have the equipment in order to give me that. But I think that was an eye-opener as to how difficult, as they called it, a simulation was.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I suppose it's kind of with sim racing, there's that, in the same way that with real motorsport, there's quite a big barrier to entry for like anyone to just pick it up, and it's almost kind of the same with sim racing. As video games go, you need quite a bit of equipment just to get started, which is crazy. But in terms of like your like passion for motorsport, do you feel that video games was a big part of that, or do you feel like away from that, like how did you first kind of discover your love of kind of racing cars?
I think it was a combination of racing games and my dad just plonking me in front of the television when I was very young. And, he out and out loves F1, still loves F1 now. And he very much, just put me in front of the television, probably because he had to look after me. And so just thought, right, well, we're just going to watch the Formula One on a Sunday. So yeah, that's probably my earliest memories, is when I was just very young, watching the F1, combined with then playing the games, because ultimately where I am today came from playing games. So I think it's a combination of being plonked in front of the TV and playing games for hours on end every day. Yeah,
absolutely. Because I was looking, your very first video on the XMASG channel.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
2011. Yeah, we're gonna go back, mate.
No.
Which was funny because that's 1 year after Tommy started WTF1. Actually, you were very.
We both had brainwaves. That's it.
You did.
Both were like,
clearly, there was something there. But obviously, in your first video in front of camera was your 2012 Christmas vlog.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I watched that very smooth face there.
Yeah.
You don't look much different, actually, to be fair.
To be fair, yeah, I'm clean shaven quarantine. I don't know why. It's good for the skin. But yeah, oh my days, Christmas vlog 2012. I remember that, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say, talk to me a bit about...
My dad was round.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're talking about my idea for my content back then, there was absolutely no content ideas. It was just, let's just video this, shall we? I'm sure people will care. I mean, they absolutely didn't at the time. But I think, it was just quite funny to look back on, because back then, and for quite a few years after that, I never, ever dreamed of being anywhere near what I'm doing now. That was a channel that I just made for fun. A few people subscribed to it, and I just thought, that's quite cool. That's quite nice to have someone or a few people watching my content. I remember when I hit 100 subscribers and I was like, my God, that's 3 figures. People are watching, because kid you not, how much time I put into pushing that channel. Because everyone, quite a few people say that, I'm fortunate and stuff, which I get in some ways. The experiences I've had are amazing, and loads of people would love to have that. But I think, if they look back to when I was first trying to push my channel, I was on every forum going, "Oh, have you seen my Australia hot lap from F1 2010? It's really good. Got comments." And I'd be going over every single forum, going, trying to get 20 views on my channel. So, but then there was never the goal of, I want to work in F1. I want to go do this. It was just for fun. It was purely for fun, and it's crazy how that channel kind of grew, and then everything that happened after that.
Obviously, now YouTube is such a different thing. Like, creating content is always this kind of, okay, I can make this a career. There's that route there. But obviously, back when you started, that wasn't like even conceivable back then. That there's a way of actually making this your kind of full-time gig. But that's it.
Yeah, absolutely not.
That came your way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there was nothing. There was no light at the end of the tunnel. There was none of that when it comes to YouTube, and it was just fun. I did it with Tim at Marduk, I did it with Arava. These guys that I formed friendships over just kind of making content with, and they'll be friends for life for now. From now, so for me, it was always fun. Obviously, I had this right. I have such a competitive spirit that I'd always want to get good views on my whatever good views was at the time. But I'd look at Ben's channel, I'd look at ours, and go, "Oh my God, they've got more views than me." I'm losing, when in reality I didn't really have any end goal, and it was just a bit of fun. Yeah.
But it's important because obviously I guess that competitiveness pushed you to put out more, and eventually has got you to the position where you are now. So that can't be that can't be questioned for sure. But in terms of your So again, looking at that 2012 vlog, the very first video.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, mate. Like your presentation of yourself didn't look like the first time you'd done something like that. It came across as very natural and very like. Of course, it's not quite as confident as you are now, but in terms of that side of yourself, being confident, talking in front of camera. Was this something that was formed in your kind of earlier years? Were you a very dramatic child? Did you like doing all of the shows at school and all that? I don't know. What was your kind of experience with talking to camera or talking in front of lots of people?
Yeah, I mean, this side of me, people do not believe in the slightest. But I was the shyest kid at school. I wouldn't say boo to a goose. I wouldn't honestly get involved with pretty much anything when it came to group presentations. If I had to do a group presentation in front of 20 people, I would crap my pants, and I fell into this job rather than me always wanting to be a presenter or always wanting to be in front of camera. My God, like I could do it in front of myself because, it's just me, I'm just talking to a camera. There's no one behind that camera.
Yeah.
So for me, I never, ever in my wildest dreams thought I would do what I do now. I was honestly, my confidence even now, people think that, because I'm on camera, because I'm this, I guess, come across as extrovert personality, people assume that I'm sometimes arrogant, sometimes really confident. But I'm not at all. I'm quite self-conscious. I'll always worry about what people think about me. And, when I had my first test shoot for this job, it was at Autosport International. And I was shaking. Because I knew after chatting to WTF1 guys and whatnot, that this was my dream job at that time. Because I was like, I can mold myself into this face of the channel if I have to, but I wasn't ready for it. So I was shaking. I remember I had to do talk about the cars that are around on the show. Then I had to go and speak to this guy from Lotus 49 about all these Lotus 49 cars, which I was stood there and I'm like, this is, I don't know anything about these cars, I didn't know where to put my hands. I was just kind of holding them there, and he was saying things to me, and all I could think about was, where should I put my hands next? And honestly, it was one of the most terrifying days of my life. But for some reason, they hired me after that. But I guess, as you said from the Christmas vlog, there was obviously something about the way I came across on camera, even though I never saw it. And I watched that video back, and I literally want to throw up.
Yeah.
But people have seen the slight positives of it and gone, all right, he can be okay. So I was the shyest kid. I was bullied at school. I had no confidence, and to be fair, I'm not particularly confident. I just know how to fake it.
Well, I suppose it's almost a blessing in disguise that you haven't been had the classic kind of media training, because I think a lot of the appeal of, well, obviously we know if the WTF1 content is that it comes across as very normal. It's just like average, people talking about Formula One. It's not this. There's not this, Tommy was talking about it's not like you're talking down to people. You're on their level, and it's just echoing the thoughts and feelings of the fans. But I mean, it's obviously the WTF1 opportunity came up. I know you mentioned again. I watched your podcast that you did a year ago talking about the foundation and the start. Do you remember again, talk through the day of how that came about? Who reached out to who in terms of with WTF1?
That's quite a funny story, really, because obviously, as I say, I was at the time of receiving a message from Tommy, I was just doing my XMASG YouTube channel, which had got to nearly 50,000 subscribers. And I was like, cool, it's a bit of part-time money. Fine. You know what? At that time, I'd just been made redundant from my youth worker job. So I was going full-time as a YouTuber, which was absolutely nowhere near full-time hours. Let's be real here. Especially with my content, my God. And yes, then I received a message from Tommy. I might actually try and find it. But he, to be fair, actually, that's going to be a lot of messages. But okay. I'm going to scroll whilst I'm talking. And then
just mindlessly scrolling. I'm sure
we don't talk much on. Oh no, there we go. We literally don't talk much on Twitter at all. It's all on WhatsApp. It's from WTF1, isn't it? It's not from Tommy. But basically, he messaged me out of the blue. anyway, I can tell the story without knowing the message. And it was either on the WTF1 account or Tommy's account. And he said, we want to chat with you guys. Actually, no, it was that. I just. Okay, hold on. I'm being an idiot.
It's so good, man.
Here we go.
If you can get it, right. You can get it.
Yeah. I just realised it's the message below. Here we go. Okay, perfect. So I met them for the first time. It looks like on the 19th of December 2016, because I messaged Tommy going, "Great to meet you guys earlier. Nice to meet people of a similar mindset." Fist, and I'm like, "Wow, what?" I mean,
beg.
Jesus, yeah. And then he goes, "Yeah, thanks for coming in. Was good to meet you." So I think that was the first time where they mentioned that there was a secret project. Can't tell you anything about it. Yep. Come into London and we can tell you a bit more. So that's when they said, we're looking to launch a YouTube channel. We're looking for a presenter. And I was like, that sounds like a job. And, F1. I was like, okay, this is a cool job. Then
the emotions, like what were the emotions going through your head like at that time? Because
I didn't really know what to expect when I went in on the 19th of December, because I didn't. They said it was a secret project, but I knew it was WTF1, and I knew of WTF1. If Tommy ever liked my tweet, obviously I didn't know who Tommy was at this point. It was just the brand. If WTF1 ever interacted with me, liked my picture or whatever, I'd be like, "Oh, that's WTF1," So the fact that then they were like, "Oh, come in and speak to us." I was very scared, very nervous. Went in, chatted to them, tried to be as cool as possible. Probably wasn't. And then after that meeting, I had to wait a little while. So then he messaged me on the 4th of January on 2017 and said, "Hey, mate, how's it going? Love the streams you've been doing recently. Thought it'd be easy to chat here than email. Need to sort out a few things if possible. No major rush." And I replied within 1 minute. Oh. There's no, oh my God.
No,
for some reason, I just went straight in. I was like, "Hello, mate, fire away. I'm all good, thanks, pal. Yourself?" So then obviously he tells me everything about what's going on and the fact that they want to get me in for a test shoot. And actually, it was quite a long process, to be fair. It was obviously that first meeting. Then it was another interview. Then it was a test shoot. And then it was a group podcast. Then they decided. So, it was a long process to kind of work out who they wanted. And yeah, it was quite a frightening process. I think that I learned a lot about myself then. I was going, and I'm probably not ready for this. but
that's the best time to do it, mate.
Process. Yeah, exactly. And I'll always remember the group podcast, which I think Tommy actually mentioned. That was still part of my test shoot. That was still part of my test interview. And oh my goodness me, these were people I had Tommy had met once or twice. Everyone else I hadn't met at all. Yeah. And I had to do this podcast. And I was like, I just remember, where do I put my hands? I'm sat down, but I don't know where to put my hands. So it's quite funny to see how I've just got so much more comfortable in front of the camera and with people. And I'd never have dreamed that where I was then and how I feel a lot more comfortable now. It's crazy.
Do you know how many other people were going for that position or interviewed for that position?
Not exactly. I don't know exactly how many people. I know of a few personalities that were on their radar, but no, I don't know the exact numbers. But I remember actually it's quite funny when I first joined, I typed in, because we use Slack, so I typed in Matty to try and find my video of the test shoot, and then I could just see people's comments about the video, and I was like, "Oh no, I probably shouldn't be reading this." Oh, no. But to be fair, they were all like, "Yeah, no, this guy, seems pretty likable on camera. He's got to change this and this." But
that could have gone badly the other way though.
Oh no, get rid of him.
And then your first day, this guy's called you like a wank.
Fortunately, it wasn't.
I know what you really think of me.
Yeah,
brilliant. But obviously, as well, when I spoke to Tommy, and I did ask, because obviously when you started at WTF1, you stopped posting on XMASG, which actually no, sorry, this was Jess. I mentioned it to Jess, and so that was that something that was part of the kind of contract you had to stop posting on your own channel?
Yeah, so when obviously they gave me the job offer, they said, "Look, one of the part of the contract, and it's the same for the other presenter, Alex from Car Throttle, that you can't create clashing content or anything like that." So for the sake of joining the company, they wanted full focus on WTF1, which is absolutely fine. I get it, and so so that basically I signed the fact that I wouldn't create any content on XMAG. You know, I could have made vlogs and stuff, but to be fair, the job, so many hours, you know, down the drain, and you know, by the time I get home, especially when I commute to London, you know, I don't want to be making content. So and that's not the content I enjoyed making anyway. I don't want to make a Christmas vlog 2012 every single day. That's
Bring it back, Matty. Come on. This is the time now.
To be fair, it feels like Christmas. It's a very weird time, isn't it?
Isolation vlog 2020.
No one wants to see that.
I think you'd be surprised, mate. But how did that, in terms of like, was that a difficult decision for you to make, to drop your personal channel?
Yes, yeah. Obviously, you know, it was in some forms, but much smaller when you compare it to Tommy. It's my baby. You know, I've created this little community with, Absolutely. You know, and I was always like, I want to get to 100,000 subscribers. That's the goal, you know. And that was always my goal after I kind of saw the growth. And then, you know, obviously this opportunity I was never going to say no to. No. But it was still very difficult. Like when I had to make the farewell video, you know, I did have a lump in my throat. I was quite sad, you know, because it was content that I liked making. People loved it. The fact, you know, it just meant so much to me, and it still does now when I read comments, you know, on WTF1 videos, or when I used to on XMAG, and they go, "Oh, this has brightened up my day," or whatever. And you know, and for me, that just that warms my heart, and that was something I didn't want to give up, because at the end of the day, as much as they said, you know, you're going to be working in F1, it was still a risk for me, because I'm essentially putting this channel in the ground to go and start something new. Obviously, I don't regret a single second, but at that moment, it was obviously very difficult.
I imagine there's a lot of unknowns at the time, and like you said, like you built that thing. That's your. I mean, if I was in the same position, I don't really know what I'd do, to be honest. If I was like tasked with, all right, you're gonna have to drop my channel for that. Swings and roundabouts, and it must have been difficult. But obviously, you didn't have to delete your channel. It still exists. It
does, unfortunately.
Do you think XMAG will ever return?
No. No, unless times get really bad. You know, that's a different part of my life. That's how I see it anyway. You know, I never say never, and obviously I've started Twitch streaming again. Unfortunately, my computer's exploded, so that's on hold again. But in terms of the YouTube channel, it's not something that I want to do. Things that I enjoy, and Twitch streaming is something I enjoy because I engage with people live. I don't have to edit, which is amazing. Whereas the YouTube channel was a grind. I always found it a grind. As much as the content, making the content with the guys was great. The actual editing and stuff, it's not my cup of tea. And I'm rubbish with computers, so my edits were shocking. So yeah, so for me, I think XMAG is you know, it's a part of my life which will always stay there. You know, I'm not planning on deleting the channel. People like to go and rewatch how much I used to swear. You know, so well, I still swear a lot, just not on camera.
You mute that part of your life, but no, I think it's ultimately that's what opened the door, right? That is the channel that, you know, is the foundation. And when you're old and you're showing your kids how.
Oh, I'm not showing my kids that.
How daddy came to be successful.
They can be over 18 before they learn swear words.
I'm sure by then YouTube will have like an auto bleep function or something.
Oh God, the whole video be bleeped.
The whole thing. Brilliant. But of course, so, you know, with WTF1, role is a presenter, but in terms of your kind of, it'd be interesting to kind of talk through what's a typical day in terms of like your commute, roles within like outside of presenting, because obviously it's quite a small team. So I imagine everyone's kind of lending their opinions and, you know, themselves to lots of different parts of the business. What's kind of a typical day for XMAG?
Oh gosh. Well, XMAG's dead. Matty WTF1. But yeah, to be fair, it varies a lot. And obviously we're going to look back to before this whole crap has hit the fan in terms of this whole pandemic thing.
Of course.
But I think, you know, before that, obviously commute-wise, it took me to the old office about an hour and 20 each way, so it's quite a long journey. We could come in at around 10, so it's not too bad. So I miss a lot of the rush hour and things like that, which is lovely. So yeah, get into the office, you know, check emails. But I think generally day to day, when it's kind of admin stuff, is more sort of script writing, idea creating, chatting to potential clients. That I'd be more on the non-commercial side, so I'd just be trying to get content, whether it's a karting video or whatever. So it's kind of that. It's client relationships as well. Sometimes meeting up with the guys that have helped WTF1 in the past. To see if we can work with them in the future. So it's a mixture of stuff. Obviously, then we have, if it's a race weekend, on the Monday morning, we'd film Internet Special Reactions. Tuesday, we'd film the podcast, things like that. So, there are things that are usual throughout the week, but I think it's quite difficult because, we'd go on trips sometimes, we'd, do some cool stuff. But it kind of had its peaks and troughs when it comes to busyness in terms of going away and things like that. Yeah. So maybe sometimes it's more admin, more preparing for videos as we move on. So yeah, it's hard to say a day to day because it's very different, but that's kind of my role, I guess.
And what was your you talk about trips away, like what was your first experience of that, of actually going out and filming kind of on not on set, you know what I mean? Like in location.
Well, my first ever filming location was at Silverstone for the Mercedes car launch, I believe. So literally one week into my new job, I'm still very nervous. And they go, we're going to the Mercedes car launch. We've got time with Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas. I've gone, so obviously oh my God. So we've arrived and I'm still very rigid at this point, but it was, a very surreal moment to go to a Formula One car launch, who am I? I had a WTF1 badge because we didn't have WTF1 branded gear at this point. So I had this badge on that said WTF1. I looked like I was on a school trip. It was, I had this microphone, which definitely wasn't the best, but to be fair, I think it had WTF1. Oh no, it didn't. It was a Rode mic. So it didn't look great. I think it had a bit of mud on it as well. It was just, so we didn't look the most professional. This was very much 1 week into the job, but it was still insane because I got to ask Lewis Hamilton a question, and because obviously we were stood in a line, and I kept thinking of the question. I was like, just don't, because we asked about his dogs and who would win in a race. Everyone else was asking about how they'd do in the season. We want to be different. So I was like, don't get your words messed up. Don't say it the wrong way round. Just here we go. Who would win in a race between Roscoe and Coco? That's all you need to say, Matt. I kept saying it over and over, looping. And then he got to us and I said it and I've gone, yes. And then he reacted really well. And then I then did like a little follow-up question. I was like, oh, Matt, stop it. You risky man.
Get ahead of yourself,
one question and I'm getting confident. But yeah, that was my first shoot in terms of in the country. I can't remember the first abroad one, if I'm being completely honest.
Cool. And so that was your kind of first moment. But what about standout moment? I've got an idea in my head what it might be, but your kind of standout WTF1 moment, if you had to pick one.
I'm sure that's the same moment in your head, but driving the Formula One car. There's never going to be anything that tops that. Even if I drove another F1 car, nothing will ever top that day in my entire life, apart from maybe having a baby. But I haven't had one yet, so let's see. But right now, that is the best time in my life by a country mile, and I'll never forget that day.
Wasn't that quite early on as well in your WTF?
Yeah, that was
career.
That, and you'll be pleased to know if pushing this XMASG side of things, that actually that opportunity came through XMASG. That had nothing to do with WTF1.
Really?
I've just been hired. So obviously I'm now starting at WTF1. I've walked into the office and gone, guys, I think I've just been offered to drive a Formula One car. And they've gone, huh? But the thing is, it's quite a funny story because I received this obviously through my personal Hotmail. So, and it was such a badly worded email because it came from a French agency. So they're translated to English. So I've read this and I'm reading this email. They're talking about this boot camp, but there's so many typos. And I'm like, there's not a chance this is real. No. And then at the bottom, it just goes, you will drive the EO, whatever it was. And I've gone, nah, it's absolutely not. But I will reply just in case. This was a case of, a Nigerian prince saying to, I'll give you $4 million. You just got to see, will he or not, So for me, I was then replied and then it turned out to be real. And I've gone, Oh my God. So I remember just walking into the office going, guys, yeah, so F1 car, going to drive that. The Renault, yeah, at Silverstone, 2012.
Should we make some content around that?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But the thing was, it was so early, so we had to use a guy called Ethan who worked on Cars Throttle. I don't think we'd even hired a videographer at this point, and we've just gone, well, we need someone. So obviously we borrowed resource from Cars Throttle, and yeah, then we just did these 3 days. The first day was fitness, second day was driving some pretty cool sports cars, and then the third day was driving the goddamn 2012 what was Lotus, branded as Renault, Formula One car.
Mad scenes. But as an experience, how was that? Like, how did it compare to what you expected?
So obviously, I saw the itinerary. I was like, day one fitness, right? Gonna die, definitely gonna die. And lo and behold, I did die.
Oh, really? R.I.P. XMASG. That's when XMASG died.
A lot of my body died on that day. But yeah, I think. Yeah, that day one was obviously just kind of fitness. There wasn't any driving really, and that was obviously horrific. Day two was driving a Clio Cup car. It was driving an RS01, which was just unbelievable. I mean, what a piece of machinery that is. And I think I drove something else as well. But yeah, it was just such a cool day because I'd never really done any track driving at all. And then I've just rocked up and driven an RS01, which was just looks like a Le Mans car. You know, it's just so aggressive. And I just couldn't believe that I was driving these cars. And, you know, there was a little competition on the day where, because it was basically how it worked was that I was invited to this as media and the other 5 people were trying to win to drive the Formula One car. So they had to prove that they were the best or, you know, they had the most passion. Okay. And they were scored, whereas I was there taking part, but also I would still drive the F1 car. So I didn't have the pressure. But like, it was really cool how, you know, we had this, I think it was in the Clio Cup car, and we, you know, that we had to try and set the fastest time. And I set the fastest time. And I was like, oh, hello. Good. I mean, I didn't get the clean, because we were scored on like clean driving, scored on loads of things. I was not clean by any stretch of the imagination. You know, I was sideways and everything, but you know, I got the fastest time and I was going, okay, I'm not too bad at this. And, you know, at the end they said, you know, Matt, your passion, obviously your pace, you probably would have been up there to potentially win this anyway. And I was like, oh my God, a little old me, you know, still very, you know, self-conscious and going, oh my God, thank you for that ego boost. So yeah, obviously that was day 2, and then day 3 comes around. And to be fair, there's a story there that not many people know, but well, I'll run you through the day. So obviously drove the F1 car, but before that, I went out in a Formula Ford, which we couldn't film because it was a Renault piece. So we couldn't actually film much of that at all, apart from me just getting in the car. So we did that. I went out for a lap with Nico Hulkenberg, who just kind of that was really weird. I'm in the car with a Formula One driver. I think that was my first experience of being with an F1 driver.
Really?
And then so then I had like a cycle lap. They were saying, this is where you need to brake. I was like, okay, that's where I need to brake in an F1 car. Okay, cool. I'm definitely going to see that, aren't I? You know, I was thinking, I'm in a road car right now. So obviously, then drove the F1 car. I will never forget that, just even strapping up. And the thing was, the story that people don't know is that I nearly didn't drive it. So the competition winner drove the car, and then they all started packing up. And I was stood there. I'm going, do they know where I'm? So then I've gone over and I've got, I'm got to drive this as well. And then apparently, you know, everyone was like, oh, well, we didn't know this. And I'm going, oh no, my dream is literally going through the sieve. And some people spoke to other people, and then eventually they were like, okay, you know, you've got, because originally I was supposed to have like 5 laps, I think, but they were like, you know, you've got 1 out lap, 1 in lap, or 1 flying lap, and then 1 in lap. I was like, okay, that's fine, I'll take it. And yeah, I will never forget sitting in that car, being strapped in so that my balls nearly exploded.
Nice. What you want?
And just going, oh my God. I was sat there
this
in
is
a
real life.
car. You know, there's engineers around me. They're putting the tires on. The car drops, and they go, "Off you go." Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And then obviously driving out the pits. Well, first problem was don't stall. Don't stall, Matt. Because I stalled the Clio Cup car about 9 times. It was the most embarrassing thing ever on episode 2. But episode 3, I was like, no, not going to stall it. And I didn't stall the F1 car, which for me, better than putting it on my CV that I didn't stall a Clio Cup car. So I drove out and I'm thinking, I genuinely, I remember the temperature of that day, everything. I just remember it being the most glorious day ever. And pressing the accelerator fully, going onto Wellington Straight for the first time, my head nearly came off. It was honestly the most, I don't want to go on about it too much because people banter about it, but it was just the most sensational. And I think you could see it in the video as well, because the one thing I wanted to get across in the video was that I'm not taking this for granted. I'm not taking any second of this for granted. I'm just an F1 fan living the dream, and I wanted to take everyone along with me. So, yeah.
I imagine, like, having had that experience, that gives you an additional level of kind of appreciation for what the drivers actually do. Because, again, like, as a fan, like, I've driven, you know, I've done track days and stuff like that, but actually the experience of actually driving an F1 car and how that's on another complete level, for then you to watch these drivers go out every day, do 160 laps, full on at testing, for example, that must give you a whole new appreciation. Yeah,
look, when I was in that car, I couldn't think of anything apart from the next corner. You know, it was, I didn't have any other cars around me. You know, just to think that these guys race at 200 miles an hour, wheel to wheel, and then we'll analyze an incident and go, well, he was at fault. What was he doing? You know, when you actually put yourself in that situation, that would have happened in 0.001 of a second, what just happened. And they would have just gone like that on the steering wheel and accidentally hit, you know, so definitely a much bigger appreciation. But, you know, at the same time, you've got to criticize, because this is their guy's job. It's not my job to go and race Formula One cars quickly. So,
it's very true, mate. Not at all. It's you're in a very different place. But, well, back to the job. Obviously, we've got to talk about this because, you know, the news dropped literally yesterday. Talk Esports have bought out WTF1. Dennis Publishing sold. What can you tell us? Like, breaking news, mad. I saw it. I was like, this is definitely not like a delayed April Fool's. I don't know if like some like
about that.
Some like West Coast of American publication that's still like April.
Just scheduled it. Yeah,
exactly. So yeah. What can you tell us?
Well, as much as pretty much it says on the press release and stuff. Yes, obviously Talk Esports has purchased WTF1, which means myself, Dan Thorne, and Tommy are all going over. And yeah, it's a really good move for WTF1, because Dennis Publishing, you know, they're a great, huge publisher, but for us, it didn't really fit too well, just purely because of the tone of voice that we have, and it's very different to all the publications that they work with. So for us, you know, obviously it's not my decision, it's not Tommy's decision, but the move to Talk Esports is a great one, purely because they get what we do. You know, the first phone call I had with the boss, you know, he said, I want you to go and do crazy shit, and I want you to go and just get back to what we were, because we've kind of lost it over the last few months. I'll be brutally honest, just purely from one reason or another. You know, we've kind of sat on our laurels a little bit, and we've just worked with the content that we know works. You know, I'm not going to go into the reasons why, but I think this is a huge injection, I think, for us to be able to go and push the brand and just go and bring back series that we know work so well, like Forgotten Tracks, you know, things like that, where we go out and explore and we go and do just mad stuff, and even crazy. We want to go and do serious, crazy stuff. And obviously this is very new, very breaking news, as you say. So yet to get the pipeline fully, you know, especially in these times where we have to stay at home, there's no real crazy shit we can go and do. But in terms of, you know, the future, it's huge, and I am so excited.
Well, I was looking into kind of Talk Esports because I hadn't heard of them at all, but obviously looking into so the guy is the world fastest gamer. I know there's, you know, they started that. There's a lot of actual kind of, I didn't realize how kind of within the industry, as esports in particular, and obviously with your presenting for esports as well, I imagine that's only going to continue to open up opportunities for you in kind of that capacity as well.
Yeah, I've always said I want to stay within the esports arena, but I never want to solely put myself in the esports arena. I always want to stay in F1. I want to be, hopefully in the paddock until I'm 70. That's the dream, because Formula One is the only real burning passion I've ever had. I like other sports, but I've never loved a sport so much as F1. So for me to have a job, I don't want to let it go. I don't want to let go of being anywhere near F1. So the combination, that's what I'd love to do, because I love gaming. That's my second passion, but it's still not near F1.
Yeah.
And, I want to stay within the esports arena for sure, but I don't want to solely stay there, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, strings to your bow, and I suppose it keeps it varied as well, right? Because whatever you're doing, if it's just the same thing over and over again, there's always the risk it can become a bit flat over time. But amazing. And obviously that kind of lends quite nicely onto my last kind of F1 question. Do you have a personal kind of end goal as such? What would are you looking to, next David Croft? Are we going to see that one day?
No, I don't think I have the commentary skills, to be honest. I think, to be fair, if I lended my hand to it and I've really put a lot of effort into commentary, because that's something I used to love to do. That's something I did for fun for many years, commentating over league races and games and Apex Online Racing as a main one. And yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly what my future holds. And I think as much as that's a little bit scary, it's also quite exciting. So a lot of people say to me, "Oh, Matt, is Sky F1 that must be the end goal, right?" But for me, I don't know, because the whole scene is changing year by year, and that I look at WTF1 and I go, well, is that the end goal? Is me staying with this brand forever like the end goal? Because you don't know what's going to grow the most. You don't know what's going to be trending year on year. So for me, what I want to do is continue what I love doing, which now, surprisingly enough, tell this to me 10 years ago, you'd be like, presenting. I love, being in front of a camera. And I think that, I've still got a hell of a lot to learn, and I'm nowhere near the finished product. And so for me, presenting, just staying within the Formula One arena, wherever that may be. And yeah, I don't know. I don't think there is an end goal for me. I just want to stay happy in the job that I do and wake up every morning and go, is this real? Yeah, no, yeah, it is. Because I've had that for the last 3 or 4 years, and I want that feeling to continue. So I don't know. There's so many roads. Yeah, and I'm excited by that, because I just want to stay within that public arena, because as much as it's sometimes difficult, it's also amazing.
There's so many, like you say, so many avenues of opportunity, and you don't want to box yourself in too early for no good reason, right? But yeah, amazing. Well, that's pretty much all the F1 questions done. Thank you, Matty.
No worries.
Let's get on to a bit of a deep dive about who the man behind the brand is. So I want you to, in 3 words, sum up secondary school Matty.
Whew. Okay. Shy. Oh, it's a personality trait, so I imagine this is, right?
Yeah, like who you were as a person back then.
Shy, introverted. they're all kind of going around no confidence, aren't they? Yeah,
that's your truth, then. So be it.
Yeah, I was much more introverted back then. Not just purely from a confidence level, but just I liked my own space. I didn't really like social situations, things like that. And I think one more word. So secondary school Matty. I'm caring. I don't know. I think just purely because on a side of I had really close knit friends then. I have really close knit friends now, and I don't think I'll ever change that way. I don't like to have a huge amount of just people that I'll sometimes talk to, sometimes not. I'll just put my full effort into a lot of people. Obviously, you have acquaintances, you have friends that aren't so close, but I think a trait about me that I'll always have, I think, is that I care about the ones I love most. And
then in terms of that period of your life as well, do you have any particular kind of standout memories of that kind of time, just in terms of your personal life, or any fundamentally kind of changing experiences that you always look back on?
During secondary school?
Yeah.
So some bad things, obviously, as I mentioned, secondary school, I don't really look at back very fondly, because, as I say, I was bullied for quite a lot of it. I think, also my mum and dad broke up when I was in first year of sixth form, so that was obviously not particularly nice either. But on the other side, you know, as much as I didn't particularly enjoy school, I was still kind of happy. I loved playing tennis. I loved my sport. You know, my love for gaming was very high
real.
at this point. I used to sink many, many hours into, well, one of the games was RuneScape. That was my absolute,
yes.
that was my game. My God,
Same.
I have put thousands of hours into that game. My mum would literally walk past and go, "You still chopping wood?" Yes, I am. You know,
what was your highest skill?
Oh, I had 99s in a hell of a lot of stuff.
Did you?
Yeah, I was.
Oh.
Yeah, I was.
Okay,
yeah. It was I was a proper keynote. And yeah, so I didn't particularly do particularly well with the women at this stage of my career. You know,
same,
women were literally non-existent for me until I was 17. So yeah, before then it was gaming, it was school not being great. I wasn't particularly. I was very much a B grade student. I would just not put really much effort in, but I know I could get a B or a C and just get on with life and not say anything to many people.
Amazing. And then obviously, so you had that experience, and the reason I ask about that is because you have mentioned about your job before WTF1 was working in, was it kind of secondary level schools with kids?
Yes. So yeah, I was originally I was what they call a youth participation worker. So I used to work for a company called Connections that helped basically, I think it's people around my area, sort of south, to actually no, there used to be a nationwide thing, but then the government cut them back. But basically trying to help people get into employment or help them with their education, that sort of stuff. So I was that for a while, where I was basically, my job was to try and bring young people into Connections, rather, you know, the ones that are skipping school. I had to try and lure them in and help them. And then after that, I was an energized worker. So I used to work on projects where we took 14, 15-year-olds on residentials, basically ones that were really struggling in school. I'd have one-to-ones with them. I would try and train them in certain skills, talk to them about their problems. It was a very different time of my life, but I find it also very similar in a lot of ways, in the fact that I feel like I learned a lot of stuff that I talk to camera with people that I used to do one-to-ones with, because I feel like I can connect with people, and that I think has translated it into the camera. So people go, "Oh, it's such a different time in your life," but I look at the things that I transferred over. Obviously, things were a lot of cameras don't talk back to me, but I think there were a lot of skills that I learned then, and also a bit of confidence as well. Which helped me to where I am today.
Absolutely, because I mean, how did you get into that field of work in the first place? Was that something when you were kind of college or whatever? Did you have ambitions for that? Or did you just kind of fall into it?
I always wanted to be a teacher for quite a long time, so that kind of is quite similar in that sense. But to be fair, I fell into that job as well. So I was an absolute bum when I was 17, 18. My goodness me. Well, actually, no, maybe no, it would have been. Yeah, it would have been after sixth form, so maybe 18, 19. I was a bum. I was working at WH Smith 14 hours a week, and I was like, "Oh, that's a lot." I'd sleep until I was.
I'd go to story, bed
at. It's better now. They've given it life, but it's mad. I used to go to bed. Cause again, I was gaming a lot. I'd go to bed at 3 a.m. I'd get up at 1 p.m. My life was, I didn't. My mum was very concerned at this point. Didn't really have a clue where I was going, and. Then she was like, "Go to Connections, see what they can help with," because I wasn't happy deep down either with the fact that I was working at WH Smith, and not it was a fun time, but it was 14 hours a week. I wasn't making much money.
No, I can imagine.
So I walked into Connections, had a few appointments, and obviously stated that I wanted to be a teacher, and they were looking into stuff about how I could get into that, and then they said, "Well, we've got this job," and so essentially me being this completely not knowing where I was going kid, to them going, "Well, what about this job? It's matching a lot of what you're saying." And then I kind of bucked up my ideas a bit, did a bit of research, and then had the interview, and then they said, "Yeah, all right, you can work for us." So essentially I went to them for help, and they gave me a job.
Wow. And how long were you, so how long in total were you working with, from that job offer to you being made redundant? How long were you in that kind of field for?
I was in that field for about 3.5 years, I think. So it was a fair chunk of my life. Yeah, so it must have been probably from around 20. I actually, to be fair, I cleaned up my room the other day and I found the contract that was the job offer. It was 2013,
Really?
so 7 years ago. So I would have been 20. And yeah, you know, it was like £16,000. I was like, oh my God. I remember reading that and going, money! You know, because I was on 14 hours a week. So I was going, wow.
There's nothing like getting your first proper paycheck.
Yeah.
I find that was the most fundamentally in me, because a lot of what you say about yourself at secondary school, I completely echo. Like, I was exactly the same. And when I started my first job, I was a lifeguard, and obviously having that bit of responsibility as well. But like, that changed me so much as a person, and it does. Like, it definitely. And obviously with you having a job with that, because that's a real job of like purpose as well. It's not just stacking shelves. You're actually helping. Like, have you ever had, I don't know, is it that kind of, have you ever had kids who you used to support reach out since you kind of blew up online?
A few times. It's difficult because obviously you have to kind of respect the fact that you worked with them in quite a close environment and whatnot. But yeah, no, to be fair, I saw one in a club the other week. Like, obviously before this all happened, he just came up to me and went, Matt, yeah, you used to work with me in school. I was like, oh, okay, this is odd, because you were like 14 and now you're like 20. So, yeah, they haven't really reached out to me too much, to be honest, but I've had a few occasions where I've just seen them, you know, because a few kids actually live around where I live, and I saw them when I was on a run once. And it's things like that where you go, oh, yeah, Matt, you really helped me. And
oh, mate, that's lovely.
That was kind of the key thing I got from that, because as much as it was very different, and it was quite a difficult job in some regards, but not as difficult as some points in this career has been. But it definitely gave me that feeling when I went home that I'd made a difference. You know, there was a few kids that I'd spoken to that day that are going back to their homes, maybe doing something a bit better in their lives, whatever they wanted to achieve. So for me, that was a really rewarding time in my life. And then obviously with this, it's a different kind of rewarding, but still the same.
Amazing. That's so cool, man. Like, a lot of people don't get to have that, I suppose, in terms of like a sense of purpose in their career and job beyond, obviously, with what you do now. It's a total different purpose and sense of, but again, it's when you're creating entertainment, that, especially in times like now when we're all sat at home doing naff all, you know, it's nice to have a bit of a WTF1 video to lift the respite. But obviously the global platform that WTF1 is, and obviously you already had 50k subs on YouTube. How have you dealt with the kind of the fame, the influencer fame that has come with creating content and eventually being on WTF1?
It's weird. I mean, I would never class myself as famous, you know, and that's something that I find very weird as just a concept, because for me, you know, everything that I've done begun in my bedroom. I'm not performing to people on stage or whatever, or, you know, I'm not having packed arenas. So it's a very weird feeling that, so obviously you look at numbers. That's the problem probably with 95% of people that are on YouTube, that are on social media. You look at the numbers and you go, oh, cool, this hit 100K. But then you don't actually realize that until you go to events and you meet these people that go, we love your stuff, I've watched every video, whatever, and you just go, oh yeah, no, those views are actually people. And it's obviously, I know that, you know, what we're doing is for the fans, but it's just a weird disconnect, because obviously, as much as we want to make fans happy and things like that, we're also driven by the fact that we have to do well, we have to stay relevant, we have to be in this very dog eat dog environment where, you know, we have to stay relevant and we're chasing numbers. So sometimes we can lose that sight a little bit, but my God, it comes straight back as soon as we go to an event. And those are the most heartwarming things ever, when, you know, we could get 100,000 views on a video, or I could have 50 people come up to me and say hello, and 50 people coming up to me and saying hello would mean 1,000 times more than hitting 100K, because those are real people and I can connect with them and chat with them. And that's something that I will never, ever take for granted, because at the end of the day, the people that watch our stuff, the people that come and say hello and love it, are the reason why I'm in this job. So for me, it's weird. You know, it's very odd. It's just a strange thing, you know, because as I say, you know, my ego is, you know, not particularly, you know, the strongest in terms of, I'm talented. I could just deal with it, But for me, it's all very much a mind blowing experience. Even now, after over 3 years, it's just but it's still the start for me. I still want to keep growing, keep pushing, and that's just the competitive side of me as well. So.
No, absolutely. That's what will get you to where you want to be. I mean, how was the meet up at Silverstone? Because I know you did it last year. I was actually at the race, but I didn't.
Oh, were you? Oh, you didn't come. All right, how do we end this call? That meetup was one of the highlights, I think, of our careers, mine, Tommy's, Jess. It was amazing because I wasn't with Tommy and Jess, so basically I didn't even know how I was going to go to that weekend because we were supposed to do some sponsored thing. Unfortunately, that fell through for particular reasons, but so that basically meant I didn't have any tickets. So I was like, good, fantastic. And so I reached out to a few people, and then Fanatec absolutely came through clutch and were like, I saw your tweet or something. Do you not have access? We can give you Paddock Club. I've gone, Paddock Club. I have never been anywhere near that place. I've never stepped foot in that place, and as soon as on Friday I walked in, I've gone, I don't belong here. They were like, toast, sir. And I've gone, okay, expecting a slice of toast, but they gave me this like wrapped ham and cheese toasted. I was like, this is a ham and cheese toasty. This is not toast. Toast is just one scrape of butter on a slice of bread. So anyway, as soon as they said that, I was like, I don't belong here. No, absolutely not. But obviously that was an amazing experience, and so that meant I could be there on the Sunday, and then we had that meetup. So I arrived a little bit later because we had to come from the middle of the track, and so I rocked up, and I genuinely remember this hopefully proves to people that I'm not an arrogant son of a bitch. I arrive into the F1 esports arena bit where we said with me, and I looked to the right and I saw quite a few people behind some stage, so I've gone, is there a driver arriving or something? Anyway, so I've walked past, seen Jess and Tommy to the right, and they've just looked at me and gone, this is all for us. And I've gone, you're shitting me. So anyway, then I'm stood there and everyone's kind of looking in our general direction. And I don't know, I've never conducted such a group interview or whatever this is before. So I've gone, hi guys, thanks for coming. Come and say hello. So they all, without saying anything, they conducted this amazing group, this line, they all just got in a line.
It's the most British thing I've ever heard in my life.
Some of them waited for over an hour, and I've gone, wow. You do realise this is me. Genuinely,
I'm just a man.
Why have you waited? But no, it was the most amazing thing because, as I said before, I never take that for granted, and I always give my time to people that have invested their time in me to watch the content. So I'll happily chat to them for as long as, well, obviously to some degree if people are waiting. But but I want them to come away from that and think, I met Matt from WTF1 or Tom, and I want them to come away with a pleasant experience because, it's, as I say, without them would be nothing. So it was an unbelievable experience, and I will never forget that time.
Right, Matt, that's amazing. So now I've got to ask you this because Jess gave me this little nugget of information that I was not expecting, came out of nowhere. You went on the X Factor, mate. Yes,
a long time ago.
Talk to me. I want to hear this orator that is presenter, but is also the next biggest thing in
absolutely
music.
Not. But it was. I was 17 at the time. 17, nice. And I've always loved singing. I've loved not singing in front of people, especially back then. It was more just singing at home. Every time we'd watch the X Factor, the adverts would come on, and me and my sister would sing in front of my mum, and we'd be like, "Oh, rate our performance," blah blah blah, that sort of stuff. And as I say, I've always loved music, and I've always loved singing. And then I was like, "Screw it, I'm going to apply for the X Factor." So I did. And the story is pretty mad. So I can't exactly remember when it was, but it was at the O2 Arena, I think it was. So first audition, you arrive. I think we arrived at 7 a.m, maybe 6:30, and we were behind thousands of people. I I was very shocked. I'm thinking, I'm in and out in a few hours here. Perfect. They can tell me no and I can jog on, Yeah. So we're waiting for hours. We arrived at 7 a.m. and I got seen at 6:30 in the evening. So
Whoa.
I waited almost 12 hours to be seen. And eventually, obviously, we get in. There's about 30 corner booths like this on the stage. And, there's a member of the X Factor team or, someone, a producer, whatever. And they're just seeing people. So anyway, so I go up. There's this quite attractive girl. So obviously I'm 17. I'm like, hello. How are you? So obviously that's already put an extra tiny bit of nerves on top of everything else.
It's a pretty good watching me.
Yeah. So then I so I sing my songs. Well, I sung. So obviously I'm sure you're wondering what songs I sung.
Of course.
So I sang. The first song was Phantom of the Opera, All I Ask of You. So I went for a proper belter.
Banger, mate.
So I sang that because I felt quite comfortable singing it.
Yeah.
So I sang that and they went, yeah, really, really good. But can we hear something more contemporary? Because obviously it's the X Factor and they don't really have too much musical theatre in their shows. So then I dropped a little bit of Ronan Keating, When You Say Nothing at All.
You know what? I thought Life is a Roller Coaster. I thought Ronan Keating.
Did you?
I was almost there.
Close. So, I mean, to be fair, Life is a Roller Coaster is a very good song as well. So, but yeah, so I dropped that and she said, oh, really good. Want you to improve in this and that. But here you go. You're through to the next round. And then gave me this like golden ticket. It was Willy Wonka-esque. so I'm holding this ticket. I'm going, bearing in mind, this is very, very shy me who was probably shaking at the time of singing. And then I just run. And I see my mum and I'm like, ah! And then running towards her, the embrace. We're crying. It's like I've just won the X Factor. Preliminary round. Yeah. It's the first preliminary round of the X Factor. Anyway, so we're walking towards the got through section. So we're walking past people going, oh, congratulations. They can see the golden ticket. And I'm like, get away from me. Get away from me, scum. Get away. I'm the winner. No, but it was very cool. And so then we signed up for the next one, which was a few weeks later at the Emirates Stadium, Arsenal's football ground. And yeah, again, it wasn't much more. It was probably a 3 or 4 hour wait this time. So second round, I walk into this room. Actually, before that, the guy in front of me was someone who actually got to the live shows, which was quite cool. I was like, I remember him. And I went in, dropped the same 2 songs. And everyone else, they said yes or no. They just went, yeah or no. They came out, oh, did you get through? No or yes. For me, I sung both my songs. They said, could you just step outside for a moment? I was like, oh, for God's sake. Why have I got to step outside? So then I step outside. Everyone's like, oh, did you get through? And I said, I don't know. They told me to step outside. So I stepped outside. Clearly, there was maybe 2 yeses and 2 nos. Go back in and they go, okay, you're through to the next round. At this point, Simon Cowell, where you at? This was like producers, executive producers, whatever. So then I had to, between the second and the third round, which was on the same day, I had an interview with this person from the X Factor team who asked me if I'd had any traumatic experiences. I wonder what that's for. So anyway, so they asked me that. I'm thinking that is the strangest question.
Do you have a tragic life story we can dramatise on TV?
No, I was sat there and I was going, I don't even remember what I said, to be honest. But anyway, so we moved on from that. Then I had a mug shot and then I had my third round, which was in front of a big dog from the X Factor. It was filmed, everything like that. And they said this was basically the last preliminary round before the base, in front of the judges. And then after that, they said they'd let me know in 2 weeks. The guy went, yeah, really good. Loved it. I was going, hello. And then I got the letter about 3-4 weeks in the post, so I didn't get through. So it was quite gutting, but I knew after a certain amount of time, I was thinking, I didn't get through. So there you go. There's my X Factor experience.
How things could have been so different, Matt.
I'm glad because I didn't have the talent.
Well, you must have some to have got through to that.
Yeah, I had some, but I didn't have enough.
Yeah, well, I think it's more that you didn't have enough of a sob story to help you along.
Probably, I should have said
that is a big part of the program. But, Amazing. I certainly, when Jess said that, I certainly wasn't expecting it. What a dark horse, Matty.
Turn up for the books.
But of course, I've got to ask this as well. A bit different. Matty's dream holiday, non F1. It's not going to a track. It can't be F1 related. What's your getaway? Are you a city break person? Are you a beach? Are you mad like Tommy likes to go to abandoned buildings? Like, what's your thing?
Oh, it's difficult. I haven't actually been on a huge amount of abroad holidays. A lot of my traveling over the last few years has just been through work. So anytime I've kind of gone away, because I'm a home bug. I love just being at home. I love being in the UK. So for me, at the same time, I think if I was to go on holiday, definitely somewhere abroad, it'd be not too hot because I am warm all the time. It is frightening, genuinely. I think anything above 24 degrees and I'm going, right, chill out just for a second. Okay? So for me, like mid-20s. So
nice.
I like that side of things. In my head, I'm thinking, just a villa with a swimming pool and just chill out for a week. And that's something I'm definitely doing when this whole crisis is over and I can actually travel. But I think on the other side of things, I love going out. I love seshing. So for me, going away with the lads, one of my standout memories is going on holiday with some of the lads to Tenerife and having that just absolute 10-day bender where this was back, it's probably 21, maybe about 22, 23. And I lost 1.5 stones over those 10 days because I ate like once a day because I was either drunk or asleep.
Are you just sweating it all out?
Yeah. And we had the worst place. There was no aircon. So I was just sweating profusely. But yeah, so for me, I think nowadays it's just the more calm. Let's just go chill out and get away from the hustle and bustle. So
are you like a pub or a club guy?
Club.
Really?
Yeah. I think in the next few years I think we'll have to have a night out, Tomo.
Definitely.
I think probably in the next few years it might transition to pub, but for now, club, I'm a single man. Let's get to the club.
That's it, mate. I could be wingman. It's all good, mate.
Yeah.
Literally, I had our mutual, my best mate Kerry, who used to race with back in the day. We had a stag do in Edinburgh last month, and it was good.
Just before it all hit,
Kerry had fun.
Lucky.
Let's just say that. 2 engaged guys with Kerry the singleton. He had
yeah.
I'll leave this in, Kerry, if you're watching. But yeah, man, most of my mates are pub guys, so it's nice. It's refreshing to.
Well, you can start with a pub, then go to a club.
Exactly, that's pre-drinks, mate. That's where it happens.
Yeah, exactly.
And then outside of F1 as well, in terms of, you mentioned tennis, you used to play that when you were younger, and obviously the gaming. But are there any other passions, sports or otherwise, that maybe people don't know about?
Yeah, I think it kind of just lies with sport. To be fair, another passion of mine is obviously we've mentioned about esports, but it's away from Formula One. I love League of Legends. I watch esports with League of Legends all the time.
Nice.
I don't know why I'm so hooked by it all, but I just love the strategy behind it, and I play it a lot and try to get to a certain level as well. So for me, it's watching other esports, even though that isn't too much of a different interest to what's already been mentioned. Sports, singing, that's pretty much me summed up, really. I don't think there's many other passions. To be fair, that's enough passions for me. I'm happy.
I was going to say, you've only got so many hours in the day, especially when you're working with a job that is, I imagine, as all-encompassing as WTF1, because it's not a switch off at 5 kind of role, is it? Because, and again, you work in.
No, it's never been that, and I think that's something that people don't sometimes understand when they watch the videos and they go, Matt, you're doing this amazing thing, and then they watch this video and go, oh, Matt's so lucky, he gets to go here, there, and everywhere. But the behind the scenes is the fact that, oh my God, we worked for 12 hours on that video because it wasn't ready, and we had the processing issue of this, and this one broke, this crashed, this did this, the script wasn't right, blah blah blah. So for us, it is quite a difficult job to maintain within a 9 to 5 or a 10 till 6 or whatever, especially for Tommy, because he has to write articles, social media. For me, it's a little bit easier because I have a job of getting a video out a week or whatever, so for me it's a bit easier, and I feel a bit bad if I clock off, but sometimes I do. I mean, everyone's got to have a life. But Yeah, I think WTF1's something that I can't really switch off from purely because I'm on social. Another thing I'd love to switch off from is social media, but I can't. I would love to have a week's break because I am on it all the time, but I can't. I don't want to either because it's part of my job and I want to continue to grow my profiles by doing stupid tweets or whatever. So yeah, it's difficult, but I love it. I can't say that I don't.
Do you feel you've ever reached kind of a burnout point yet? Because there's a lot of talk of YouTubers in particular, but when your life is so out there and you're constantly having to, exactly what you just said in terms of feeling like you need to keep up to date on social, do you think you've reached that at any point, or do you think you could be at risk of?
No, I don't think I've burnt out. I think it'll be very obvious if I do.
We'll see.
I think... Yeah, no, I don't think I will burn out purely because the love that I have for the sport and the love that I have for is that burning passion. If it'd been anything else, I reckon I would have burnt out by now. But it's something I believe in. It's something that I still want to continue striving on, and that's the competitive spirit. It's like in games, if I'm not good at something, I'll continue to push until I'm good at it. Yeah. This, I don't think I'll ever feel like I am at the level that I want to be. So I will constantly push it, and there are difficult times, as I mentioned. There are times when we go, well, we want more resource. We want to have another cameraman. We want to do this. There's comments that go, why isn't this out on the Monday? Well, Jim, if you'd have seen this, then you would have seen that we absolutely would have no chance. Why can't you film the podcast on a Monday? Well, because we're doing X, Y, and Z. And it's things like that are frustrating. But at the same time, if I was that viewer, I'd be exactly the same. So I get it, but it is frustrating at the same time because we want to show everything, but we can't.
Yeah. It comes from a place of passion and love for you and the brand itself. I mean, okay, talking of comments, actually, how do you said you're quite self-conscious and you care about what people think and say, but obviously the echo chamber that is the YouTube comments can be a very toxic place at times. I mean, in terms of the impact on your kind of mental health and how you've dealt with that going forward, because I mean, again, I said this in the podcast with Tommy, I still remember my first ever really, really nasty comment, and now I respond and reply to literally every single comment I get because I've been doing it for a long time, and I feel kind of conditioned, and I feel like I'm not. And generally the comments are quite positive, but obviously you're always gonna, and it will be the same for you guys. Most of the comments will be positive, and how on a personal level, how have you coped with that? How do you deal with that?
I've changed a lot with how I cope with it, probably similar to you in the sense that when I remember I got a roasting for something in my first year of doing what I'm doing. I can't exactly remember what it was, but it was a pretty big one. I think it was on Reddit, and Reddit is a very interesting place, and I steer clear of it, man. It affected me a lot. Like I remember reading that, and I was really hurt, and I'm thinking, I'm trying to do this job to make people happy. I'm trying to provide content for people for free, and we're not charging anything, and that was really difficult for me. But I came through it. Now it doesn't really affect me at all, and I think I'm quite lucky in the sense that my mental health is quite sound, I think anyway, just purely from a sense of I can deal with this, and mainly because I can just switch off. I can genuinely just switch off my brain, and it's quite nice to have, and I feel quite lucky for that. So for me, it hasn't really. If anything, the criticism has helped me grow as a person, and sometimes there are completely unnecessary comments, and they'll always hit you at some level, but for me it's just a brush off the shoulder now, and I think that's key, because if I was getting affected by it daily, I wouldn't be able to do this job, especially being the front of the camera. Everyone thinks that you are WTF1, you are responsible for everything, you're responsible for that social media tweet that you didn't post, you're responsible for that article. So for me, I think that I take the burden on a lot more, but
absolutely.
I'm of the opinion, and there was something recently that the Reddit put up, which I addressed on my Instagram, was that they were having a go at me, and I'm all for just kind of pointing this out. I'm not pointing this out because I'm like, oh my god, I said in the video it is quite hurtful comments, but I can take it, but the next person can't. You see all sorts of, you see the case of Caroline Flack, and that's something that really hit me quite hard, because obviously, she received a world of abuse, and I don't want that for the next person. So for me, it was more of awareness. It was, look, just think about what you're saying. If you don't have something nice to say, either say it in a constructive way or just don't say anything at all. I don't think I've ever, well, probably back in 2010, I was a bit more of a stroppy teenager, but for quite a long time, anything I've said is either in jest or, you know, I just don't say it. I don't go on YouTube channels and go, you're a dick. Like, what's the point? There's just no point. So for me, it's just more of a reflection on the people that are posting. And
absolutely,
I think it's actually 100%. Come, without going into it too deep, it's come from my understanding of working with young people in school, why they do what they do. And it's a reflection on, you know, whatever's going on in their life. So for me, I look at that comment and I go, oh, I hope you resolve whatever you're going through. So yeah.
No, exactly. Like, couldn't agree more. Like, I see those comments. I'm like, wow, like you must be struggling. Like, I almost want to reach out to those people the most, because unfortunately, they're, you know, they think that pushing other people down will make them feel better about themselves, and it's a really like fascinating. I spoke about this with Jess and Tommy, and it's just a kind of fascinating kind of side of things, because we don't. Again, when you're creating content, we just see you guys, you know, the post-produced versions of yourselves, right? Whether that's Instagram posts or videos, and they're actual real, like, just real people behind it all. It's all just people. No one's, you know, been born into this. It's all like just come from opportunities and getting out there. And we're all just people at the end of the day.
We're all just people. Just be nice.
Be nice. Speak to us like you'd speak to your mum. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. Some people do not speak to their mum nice.
Very true. Very true. Quick fire round, Matty.
Tommy didn't do this very well. I remember watching this, and he was anything but quick. And then he went into every single answer. So I'll try and be quick.
Slow fire. Well, no. So I think quick response, but then we can delve a little.
Okay, we've done it. Okay. All right. Cool.
I want a quick. I want a response within 3 seconds. Okay.
3 seconds. Okay.
3 seconds. Very precise. Favorite flavour of crisps?
Prawn cocktail.
Ooh, left field shout now. What specific, like what brand have you got?
Walkers. Yeah. Decent. Yeah, they're the OGs.
Favourite TV show growing up?
Oh, God. Sorry, I'm now going to do a Tommy. Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, nice. Not the Bill that Jeff said.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what that is. I don't know how. How is the Bill the first thing that comes into your head? I don't know. I mean, The Bill was a great programme, and what an intro, but no.
Growing up as a child, I just loved The Bill. Bless her. Favourite sport outside of F1?
To watch or to play?
To watch.
Ooh, outside of F1, watching. Oh, God, I don't really watch many. Tennis, I guess.
Tennis, nice. And then to play?
Tennis.
Oh
no, actually, no. I think I prefer badminton. Actually.
Yes, I used to play badminton loads when I was younger.
Yeah.
County.
Did you?
Yeah.
I used to try and be that good, and I always finished runner-up in everything I ever did. It was amazing.
Who's your favourite? Maybe that's where the competitive spirit comes from. The hard.
Yeah.
Doors. Who's your favourite tennis player?
Oh, Andy Roddick.
Nice.
Just because his serve is just the greatest thing to watch
mad
ever.
Serve,
it's just
fair.
Amazing.
Fair. I like that. Favourite road car?
R8.
Nice. Which year have you got a particular body?
I'm not a huge car guy, but I've been lucky enough to drive a few nice cars just for some content, and the one that stuck with me the most was the Audi R8, closely followed by the Aston DBS, I think it's called. Yeah. But yeah, I think in terms of what actually hit me so hard was just the performance of the R8 was just the most insane thing ever. I can't really judge about other things that, you know, in terms of driving wise, but yeah, it's because I have a TT right now, which is a hairdresser's car, but it's the good sounding one, the V6. So I kind of want to work up from there to a TTRS, and then maybe one day an R8, but we'll see.
Nice. You'll get there, mate. No problem. No,
I don't know.
Favorite band?
Ooh. Oh God! I mean, I'm more of a cheesy band guy than I am a rock band guy. So I'm going to say Backstreet Boys. I'm not.
Backstreet Boys, yes.
I genuinely have gone and seen them twice.
Nice.
in their most recent when they came back and released music.
I'm
No, I didn't see them twice. I saw them once. Five I can work with. I've seen Westlife a few times as well. Obviously now they've broken up, but yeah, I'm a proper cheesy man.
Love it. You're on death row because you went out for 2 jogs a day against government guidelines.
I'll be lucky to go for 1 jog, but yeah.
What's your final meal on death row?
Chicken fajitas, I think. I can't go anywhere. Or enchiladas, maybe something around that. Okay. Yeah, you can't go wrong.
What level of spice can you deal with? Like, are you?
I'm a medium Nando's kind of guy.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, just a little bit of spice, but not too much.
Fair. Yeah. Okay.
I don't get extra hot people. It's just like, my tongue's literally falling off. I remember I had there was a stag do of one of my friends a few months ago, and I had to, for one reason or another, I had to do a shot of extra hot Nando's sauce, and I did it. And genuinely, I thought my head was going to fall off. Like, I was genuinely sat there going, because someone else had to do it as well, and they just go, "Oh, that's quite hot." I'm there going, and the next day, don't want to talk about that either. And I did not do very well with that. So
we're not going to see a WTF1 brand style of hot ones.
Hot wings? No, absolutely not. No, just medium ones.
It's a great show idea, but you need.
Yeah, we'll do medium wings. That's fine.
Medium ones, that'll do.
Yeah.
I was going to say my cousin, my Australian cousin, loves, like, he will always bring his own little hot sauce with him whenever he goes out.
Oh yeah.
He loves it, and
that's horrific.
I can't even smell it, man. Blows my head off.
No. Oh.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs every day of the week.
Dog man. Any particular kind of dog?
Golden Retriever.
Oh.
Every day of the week, or actually a more, because I used to go to Crufts back in the day with my mum.
Oh wow, nice.
And the one dog that really got me is a Nova Scotia duck tolling retriever.
I have to Google that.
And genuinely, I was talking about this with Jess, and Jess actually, I said this, and she went, "Oh my god, no!" And I showed her, and she was like, "That's it." It's like a mini golden retriever, but it's just the most amazing thing.
What a beautiful little dog. Did you see? How do you get along with Frank?
Oh, I get along with Frank very well. He's an absolute terror. He's been one of the Internet Special Reactions videos. It's quite funny, actually. I think that was 2018. It was the day after we had this massive company getaway where we all got absolutely annihilated. And I had to film. It was a hot day, and I had to film Internet Special Reactions at Tommy's house, and it was one of the worst experiences. I genuinely felt like I was either going to throw up or faint many times. But I watched the video back, and I go, I don't look that bad. But inside, I was like, oh. So yeah, there's been a few hungover moments.
Brilliant. I have to dig through the archives and find.
To be fair, another one is Danny Rick's video that we did with him in Baku. We went out for him the night before, which Jess mentioned in her podcast, where it was an amazing experience. We drank so much wine, but didn't eat much food, and I had to do that video with Danny Rick, and I was so hungover as well. But the thing is, when I'm hungover, I chat the most crap, and it's brilliant. I don't know what I'm going to say next.
And I guess Danny knew that you were hungover as well, so.
He didn't see the state of me in the morning, but he obviously knew that we were chugging back the wine. So yeah,
he gave you a bit of slack for that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Prosecco or beer?
Prosecco.
Good lads.
I hate beer. I hate
Same.
I mean, I can drink it in the sense that if they go, "Here's a beer, Matt," I'll go, "Thank you." Okay, this is just a waste of a drink, but I'm a cider man. Cider is the one. Sweet cider. I've got a sweet tooth.
Copperberg mixed fruit.
Give me a Copperberg strawberry and lime.
So Recorderlig strawberry, but Copperberg mixed fruit for me.
Recorderlig I can have a few of, and then they are the sweetest things on earth. Like, even for me, and I have a sweet tooth. After a few, I'm going, Matt, you've had about 400 grams of sugar here.
Have you tried Brothers strawberry cider?
Yeah.
That's sweet. That one is mental. Nice. But Old Moot, kiwi and lime as well.
Old Moot cider, beautiful. Yeah.
In the summer.
Yeah. So you need to change that question to cider or beer.
Everyone's answer. Yeah, but I love Prosecco as well. So everyone's answer.
I do, yeah.
I rate that.
Oh, really? Okay.
And then last quick fire round question. Who's better, Tommy or Jess?
Right. I've heard this before, obviously, on the other podcast. What do you mean by better? I want a pure definition of what you mean by better.
If you had to pick one to be stranded on a desert island with for a prolonged period of time, or one to be stuck in isolation with, okay? So the government lockdowns come in and one's been visiting and you're stuck with one.
Yeah.
What do you choose?
I think Tommy, because we have more in common. There you go. I chose. I didn't bat away. But no. Obviously, in terms of who's better, that's not a question that I can answer.
Who's a better human?
Because that's horrific. But I mean, they're both incredible in what they do in terms of their job roles and stuff. But I think in isolation and stuff, I think me and Jess would eventually annoy each other. Whereas I think me and Tommy, we're both just like we've spent so much time together in rooms, like we've had to share. People, again, like another thing, like they see the content, they go, oh, Matt's driving this, that's so cool. They don't see the fact that we've had 3 people in one room, sharing a bed or whatever, things like that. So we've had some very intimate encounters, me and Tommy.
Oh. Actually, speaking of that, in terms of like, do you obviously now Jess has left WTF1?
Yeah.
Do you see, in terms of she broke the band up, of course, which is horrifying to everyone. But I guess a lot of people, which was what we got from her podcast, is that most of her job was behind the scenes anyway. And yes, she appeared on the podcast, but the majority of what she did wasn't a presenting role as such. It was so much more than that. But in terms of like, do you ever foresee, like, I'm sure you'll see her again in the paddock at some point, and keeping those. Yeah, it seems like you guys were really close, like you just said.
Yeah, it's a different. It's going to be a different dynamic moving forward for sure. Breaking the band up, yeah, fair enough. It has in terms of the podcast, but I don't think that moving forward, I don't think it's the last time we're going to see Jess. I don't think it's the last time we're probably going to work together. This is all a changing atmosphere. She's gone for something that she believed in, and she wants to go for that career change. And she did not take that move lightly by any stretch of the imagination. We talked for days on WhatsApp about how, pros and cons for both. Obviously, I'm not going to make the decision for her, but she had to, at the end of the day, make that decision. So I don't hold any resentment towards her in terms of leaving. I think myself and Tommy and Dan, we will be as good as we ever have, because we still have that fire. We still have that passion to make content. And on the content side of things, we won't see much of a difference, because Jess was more on the paid side of things and client relationships on that side. And, me and Tommy are more on the non-commercial anyway. So we won't see much of a change in terms of the tone of voice or anything like that. But, it's a shame to see Jess go, because we've been through, as Tommy said, we've been through so much together. And she was so amazing at so many things. And it is sad. We saw the podcast, we were all pretty sad. I was trying so hard not to cry, because I was the one that was blooming leading the podcast. So yeah, how I see it is that moving forward, it won't be the last time we work together. I am sure of it. I don't know what capacity it will be in, but I'm sure we'll all stay in touch. And obviously me and Tommy will, because we still work together, unfortunately. If Tommy leaves, I'm going to slap him around the face.
Immediately removed from the WhatsApp group.
Yeah. But yeah, Jess has moved on, and she's with obviously another big motorsport publication. Well, a few big motorsport publications.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I wish her the best.
Opportunity for her, for sure.
Wish her the best, and now we're enemies. So let's see.
Exactly. Now you're fighting for views.
Well, we're not enemies, but we'll always have that different tone of voice to them. So
yeah, exactly. So, Matty, if you were alternative universe, man of many hats, Matty Carey with the moustache, the curl.
Okay. Yeah.
And you could change one fundamental in Formula One, what would you change? So one rule, one whatever.
Yeah, it's difficult. I think for me, the rule I would change, or an aspect of Formula One that I would change, is that allowing, I don't know, I feel like the public need a bit more of an insight into the paddock and everything else. It's, on one end, it's great. The paddock is very much a mysterious element. It's always the one you see on TV, but you never get access to. I feel like F1 needs to go more along the lines of what MotoGP do, and it's just a little bit more accessible. It's a little bit more of a family, but not in terms of the F1 teams, family in terms of everybody that either watches or is involved with the sport. So for me, I think accessibility would be something that I would change.
No, fair enough. Good answer. Like that. And I think
all about the fans, isn't it? All about the fans.
Exactly. Well, I think they've made steps in the right direction, obviously, since Bernie left, and Liberty lifting the restrictions on social media and that. But I agree. Like, there's a lot more I still think they could be doing. And then, obviously, over the next 10, 20, 30 years, Formula One's the electric revolution. How do you see F1 changing? Do you see it? Because again, a lot of people have said to me they see it merging with Formula E at some point down the line. I mean, I guess for me personally, looking at, I see a lot of. Besides the power unit, FE and F1 are still fundamentally quite different in terms of the race layout. You've got the stuff like the boosts and all these extra things. It's a bit less of a kind of really serious motorsport, not in terms of how seriously drivers take it, obviously, but just in terms of the format. How do you see F1 changing and morphing over the next kind of 10, 20, 30 years?
Well, yeah, I get what you're saying about Formula E. It's a bit more gimmicky, isn't it? You have attack mode, you have all this stuff. But then if you look at Formula One, we've got DRS, we've had curves, we've had things that allow overtaking as well. So I think it's very difficult to say what is going to happen over the next 10, 20, 30 years. I think it's more just going to be that their hands are forced. Yeah. So, with obviously, just generally like the amount of shipping they have to do and logistics wise, whether they will combine. I don't know. I don't think they will until they have to. And even then, I don't know. I genuinely have no idea how the next 10, 20, 30 years are going to go. But you have other motorsports and things being released, so like Extreme E, that thing is going to be crazy where they're racing in all sorts of environments. Yeah. So I think F1 will probably just evolve rather than merge with Formula E. I don't see that ever happening because, I don't know, as much as you can watch both, they are rivals. They always will be in some regard because they're fighting over viewership, especially when they have Formula E weekends over Formula One weekends, which makes no sense to me whatsoever. So for me, I think Formula One will change their ways. Again, even now, this whole COVID stuff, I think the Formula One might change now because the amount of money they've lost and it's all speculation, so I don't want to put too much to it. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting time.
It's almost like who wins the mainstream battle, right? Because you go on like BBC Sport. Okay, so like one of in the UK, it's one of the most mainstream sport, publications as you can get really. And Formula One's that second tab next to football.
Yeah.
When does Formula E replace that? You know what I mean? Like in terms of there's going to be a lot more commercial, I think, support of Formula E because of the inevitable
Yeah, it's future-proofed, isn't it?
Essentially of it as well. But yeah, it would be interesting to see.
I think Formula E definitely has a clearer future than Formula One does right now. I think that's very,
I agree with that, definitely.
Yeah, clear to see.
And then last question, what is your favourite F1 2020 livery? Liveries, because I love a livery, man.
I think it's the Renault. For me, I just love the yellow and black and the way it's detailed. It's such a good looking car. I think, I can't really go for Mercedes because they've kind of made it slightly worse from last year. I think Ferrari again, they didn't have as much of an impactful red, but I still love it through and through anyway. But McLaren, it's quite nice. They're not my colours though. I think I do love black, and so Renault, especially in the test livery, that I thought that was epic, even though they didn't really do much to it. It just looked awesome. I'm thinking like Haas. Yeah, I mean Haas is Haas. It's not particularly. It's just kind of average, isn't it? It looks better this year because of like how they've not had to abide to
no
the
bitch energy.
Colours. Yeah. Haas is your favourite. Okay, I mean to be fair. Yeah, I can see why.
I just think it's really nicely proportioned. I don't know. Fair. I think obviously Grosjean's going to bin it many a time this year. But when we get racing, it's funny because obviously Matty, you're Matty. I keep calling Tommy Matty. Not the other way around. It would have been more awkward if I kept if this was the podcast.
That's right.
His favourite was the Renault, but I think as well with the Renault, to be fair, like that. Where it's kind of yellow from the front and top and from the sides. Like that will become an iconic livery, right? Everyone loves the Marlboro logo and the Marlboro livery from, you know, back in the early 90s. And that was pretty much the same livery for years. And now it's seen as an iconic. And the same with the Rebel, I think. That'll be be iconic down the line. But,
yeah, I'm not a livery nerd like you two are, you and Tommy. So, but yeah, for me, Renault definitely.
Nice. Perfect. Well, there we go, Matty. I'll let you go, mate. Thank you so much again for giving your time. I really do appreciate it. And
well, thanks for having me.
Good luck with everything. I hope the Talk esports thing works amazingly for you guys, and just keep doing what you're doing. It's
it's unknown times, but we'll make stuff happen. Don't worry.
Exactly. And how much longer do you think will be? What's your estimate until things go back to normal?
Oh God! I mean, I am absolutely not a medical professional, but it looks like lockdown is going to be extended at the very least. So I think it's going to be a little while, maybe a month or two, until we get let out at the very least. But I just want to get let out for both employment purposes and also seshing.
Just got a sesh alone, mate. I'm afraid.
I just miss the bass. I just need some.
You're a bass hugger.
No, I'm a sing along.
Nice. All right, well, thank you. Thanks again, mate.
Cheers.
You all enjoyed?
Thanks for watching, guys.
Perfect.